de sa technique, au niveau de son intelligence de combat. Et puis un challenger beaucoup moins connu, Acelino Freitas, qui vient du Brésil et qui est un véritable puncher. Jugez-en plutôt 20 victoires, les 20 obtenues avant la limite. Alors Thierry, c'est un championnat du monde de tous les dangers, pour les deux d'ailleurs.
Oui, ça va être explosif parce qu'on a la science, Alexandrov. Grande expérience et qui, même si c'est pas un puncher, détruit au fil à fil quand les rounds se déroulent ses adversaires. Et puis en face, on a un Freitas 23 ans qui est pleine bourre, j'allais dire, qui a une envie, une faim terrible de continuer sur sa lancée. 20 victoires, 20 KO, ça sent la poudre.
Anatoly Alexandrov en bleu.
Oh là, et encore là, après, ça démarre bien du côté de Freitas avec ses larges crochets du gauche qui sont arrivés. Il a envie terrible du challenger.
Acelino Freitas en culotte argentée avec les couleurs du Brésil. Alors, a priori, on pourrait penser que tout sépare ces deux hommes, puisque d'un côté, on a un technicien qui vient des pays de l'Est, du froid, qui est russe. De l'autre côté, un Brésilien qui a le sang chaud, qui est puncher, qui est d'Amérique du Sud. Donc, eh bien, au contraire, ces deux hommes se ressemblent étonnamment, Thierry, puisque en fait, ils sont nés tous les deux dans des conditions très difficiles, extrêmes, dans la pauvreté, les favelas pour Freitas et pour Alexandrov. Eh bien, on sait aussi un parcours très difficile. Mais aujourd'hui, eh bien, il est champion du monde en titre double.
Attention avec ce large crochet du droit.
Oh là là, voilà ce qu'on redoutait. Au Brésil, il est détenteur du KO le plus rapide, 23 secondes.
Encore touché. Attention Alexandrov qui est touché avec les larges crochets.
Extraordinaire ce qui vient d'arriver sur ce ring du Canet.
La puissance de Freitas qui parle immédiatement dans ce premier round.
On est peut-être en train de voir la naissance d'un immense champion avec Acelino Popo Freitas. Il repart à l'assaut.
Encore le crochet là. Attention, il est KO, c'est fini.
KO très très dur,
c'est fini.
Oh là, Thierry, il a touché le sol avec sa tête après avoir été mis KO. Oh, quel exceptionnel punch Acelino Freitas. Voilà, on savait, on vous l'avait dit, c'était un combat exceptionnel.
Freitas avec son crochet du droit très puissant qui est venu toucher à plusieurs reprises, on le revoit. Et là on voit Alexandrov qui souffle.
Non mais Alexandrov qui est carrément dans le coma. Alors on va très très vite faire venir les soins. Voilà, tout le monde est là autour de lui.
Oui, un moment un petit peu dramatique à côté de la victoire là.
Alors on lui met
faut pas qu'il avale sa langue.
Exactement. Desserrer les dents. L'oxygène très rapidement. Il est toujours sans connaissance, Anatoly Alexandrov.
Ouais, des images terribles. Ah, c'est dramatique. Il a été touché de plein fouet. Et là, on essaie de faire revenir Alexandrov.
Le brancard qui va arriver très très rapidement, évidemment. Alors, à côté, évidemment, il y a la joie de Freitas. Voilà, il revient à lui. Alexandrov, il a ouvert les yeux.
L'oxygène, tu me le passes immédiatement.
Et Freitas sur le ring, évidemment.
Ah ouais, mais combat dramatique quand même, hein. Un homme qui est allongé et qui est dans un état assez critique. Et on revoit là, le large crochet, là, plein fouet, qui touche une première fois. Il remonte, il le remet. Et là, il va le toucher terriblement une seconde fois, la tête qui touche le sol. Et Alexandrov, immense champion qui a été pris à froid par la volonté et l'envie de Freitas.
Et pendant ce temps-là, eh bien, on est encore au chevet d'Anatoly Alexandrov. Évidemment, on attend les premières nouvelles qu'on va vous donner.
Ouais, la joie d'un côté et un boxeur qui est en train de lutter de l'autre. On le met sur la civière.
Oh là là là, voilà.
C'est terrible.
Ça, c'est un des premiers knockdowns d'Alexandrov. Et ce crochet gauche, il a tout pris. Les crochets qui passaient, les droites. Et la joie de Freitas qui devient un champion du monde à 23 ans. Des poids à super plume, version WBO. Lui qui avait déjà fait le KO le plus rapide dans son pays, je vous le disais, 23 secondes. Et bien là, il vient également de faire un exploit mondial cette fois-ci. Alors que la civière a été apportée sur le ring. Voilà, Freitas qui se penche au-dessus d'Anatoly Alexandrov.
Ouais, qui va aller voir où est son partenaire de combat. C'est difficile pour lui, il vient d'être champion du monde en un round. Sous les acclamations du public. Est-ce qu'on n'a pas réussi à voir son œil, est-ce que ça va mieux ou pas? Ouais, Alexandrov qui s'est fait submerger par l'envie, par le courage, par l'envie de gagner.
Très rapidement, on va vous en donner de ces nouvelles au cours de cette soirée. De toute façon, les derniers
Mr. Wright, you don't have much faith in the mob, and yet I'm told that you have a good deal of faith in the nation's youth.
I do.
How do you square one with the other?
Why, is the nation's youth a mob?
Is it not?
No. I believe the teenager is the teenager, and I think with him lies the hope of the future. Now, architecture with us is a matter of the future. We don't have it now. We haven't had it yet to any very great extent. But we've had letters from teenagers all over this nation, and they want to know if they say they've chosen this architecture I represent for their thesis. Well, we kind of send them some helpful material. So we're getting out a little pamphlet now. We can't answer all these letters. And sending the pamphlet to them. Of course, they'll want to help us write their thesis. But why have they chosen this architecture?
Well, let me ask you this.
Now, when they're a few years from now, 15, who are going to build the buildings of the country?
The mob.
The teenagers. They're not the mob.
What is your reaction when I tell you that the nation's teenagers bought 11 million Elvis Presley records last year? Which group of youth do you think will inherit this country 15 years from now? The
The early history of satellite television and direct-to-home satellite broadcasting is not the story of big business and high-tech industry as it was planned to be. It is the story of how ordinary Americans, backyard experimenters, and garage inventors jumped the gun on corporate America and started the satellite revolution years before it was envisioned. Mark Long picks up the story.
Direct-to-home satellite broadcasting is not a new idea. Mathematician and science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke first proposed the use of satellites for the broadcasting of radio and TV signals way back in 1945. A central part of his discovery was the use of a unique orbit located some 22,000 miles above the Earth's equator. Mr. Clark wrote of his revolutionary idea in an article entitled Extraterrestrial Relays. A body in such an orbit, he said, would revolve with the Earth and would thus be stationary above the same spot on the planet. It would remain fixed in the sky of a whole hemisphere. Today, all communications satellites use this principle. On the 20th anniversary of Arthur C. Clarke's discovery, NASA launched Early Bird, the world's first geostationary communications satellite. Early Bird had the capacity to transmit 240 voice circuits or a single channel of black and white television. Soon after, Early Bird was followed by other international satellites, for the first time creating a global satellite network. At first, satellite operators had to use extremely large antennas, typically 40 to 120 feet in diameter, to receive these international satellite signals. Back then, only national governments, broadcasters, and a few other groups could afford the large cost of installing and operating these mammoth Earth stations. It wasn't until 1975 that the first private individual attempted to receive satellite television via a backyard dish. At that time, India was using an experimental NASA satellite to transmit television programs to remote Indian villages. A young BBC transmitter manager learned that the satellite was beaming signals not only over the Indian subcontinent, but also to locations as far away as England. In December of 1975, Stephen Burkle used a 5-foot dish made of window screen to receive his first satellite TV signals. What's more, he built the electronic circuitry for the receiver on his kitchen table. His pioneering efforts proved that individuals with modest resources could bring satellite TV signals into their homes.
After maybe 3 months of experimentation and not knowing what time the transmissions were or exactly being able to locate precisely the satellite location, I found a signal. And there it was. It was the AIR, All India Radio crest on the screen, a test card and some program material. And that was the first satellite TV that I'd ever seen, and I was absolutely knocked out. You could just about make it out in amongst the noise. So that I was really bitten by the bug then, and that led me on to figure that maybe if I can receive UHF from a satellite that's beaming at India, maybe I should have a go at some of this wonderful microwave stuff like 4 gigahertz and so on.
Following the successful launch of the first U.S. domestic satellites in 1974 and 1975,
Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness the most excitingly different new concept in the history of television.
Whoa, 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 whoa. We are looking at 1965. It's TV today from the world of tomorrow.
They call it predictor.
The picture just floats in the air.
The Filco predictor.
The picture can turn anywhere.
The Filco predictor.
No picture could ever compare with Filco predictor. The Filco predictor. The
Good evening. I'm Nelson Case. Well, what do you think? Is there any wonder it's called the most advanced television of our time? And the credit all belongs to Philco television scientists who have worked years to develop a radically new semi-flat picture tube which measures less from front to back than any you've ever seen. They've created a new Predicta chassis which puts more picture power in less space. And for the first time in television history, they've discovered a way to separate the tube from the chassis. Now, all this makes possible a new approach to the design, use, and enjoyment of television receivers as we know them. Here's another example of that result. The Philco Predicta Pedestal, a completely new console TV, exciting and different. It's truly TV today from the world of tomorrow. But there's more. There's so much more that you haven't seen or even dreamed of. So be sure to stay tuned in for your first preview look at the most exciting television line in the world. Just a sample of what's in store for you right now at your Philco dealers, where it's 1965 today.
Even Allstate Insurance can't put a stop to all driving hazards. For example, we can't do anything about the early honker. Nor can we help you with this one. And nothing can stop a blowout whose time has come. But when you need claim service, that's when Allstate can really help. With Allstate, help is as near as the nearest phone. Allstate cuts red tape to give fast claim service. Lots of times we write you a check as soon as we've seen the car. And, depending on the state where you live and how you use your car, you may save up to 38% from rates of most other companies. Isn't that right? So see an Allstate agent at your Sears store, Allstate Insurance Center, or just phone us. You're in good hands with Allstate.
to see. The fastest animal in the world. Captured. Captured by a 35mm film that's faster. Kodacolor 400. Because the faster the action, the more you need Kodacolor 400. The fastest 35mm color print film from Kodak. America's storyteller.